on digital billboards about Bitcoin. Just the other day, I had an experience with the local business gentleman here, and I was trying to get some information on how would you receive payment, and his answer was, "Oh, you can just pay me in Bitcoin."
Mhm.
I have no knowledge of Bitcoin. So at that
Yeah.
point, he's like, no. Well, Cash App pretty much works the way you can either pay me through Cash App, but you can also request to be paid directly to Bitcoin.
I
So
didn't know
tell
that.
me, what are your views on Bitcoin? What do you think about that financial operation? And so many people are investing and so many people are winning in that area. What are your thoughts about
I mean, the technology that it's built on is pretty groundbreaking. Um, so just to kind of high level walk you through it, blockchain technology, which is basically what Bitcoin or Ethereum or a lot of these cryptocurrency projects run on, allow for the simultaneous verification of ownership across space and time. Meaning that, when I put my money in a bank and then I send my money to you, Sean, or something like that, the bank basically verifies that that transaction happened, right? And only the bank does. And the bank broadcasts that to the world. And then we all have to believe in what the bank said as far as, hey, Rush just paid Sean $5, right? And in doing so, we have this thing called a counterparty, well, not a counterparty risk, a third party risk, if you will, where now who's to say that the bank can't, and they would never do this, but who's to say that the bank wouldn't lie and say, hey, instead of Russ sending Sean $5, he sent $10. Or instead of Russ sending Sean $5, he sent $2, right? So what Bitcoin or blockchain technology attempts to solve is, hey, how do we take the bank out of the picture and allow, global participants to simultaneously confirm these transactions? So that's effectively what blockchain technology does. And we're seeing applications in that, not only in payments where like I'm paying somebody, but we're also seeing things with like NFTs. I know that's a really big one now.
You're
And
now in my notes. You're now in my notes because that was going to be the very
that's
next
the
thing.
next one.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, no, and we'll get there in a second, but it's all about being able to verify ownership online, because that is now like the next dimension that everybody's living in. And obviously, when it comes to Bitcoin and other digital assets, because of the lack of regulatory clarity around it, we can't really even we can't really advise on it for our clients. But I would say philosophically, the two things that people really need to understand about money is that there's a difference in the functionality of currency and things that should serve as a store of value. Meaning that, like, when I go to Walmart, or when I go even with your homeboy at the gym, or whoever you're doing business with, when we go to pay somebody something, that means you're transacting in currency, right? You're finding something that can operate as a medium of exchange to say, hey, Sean, I want you to cut my yard, but and I know that you need a haircut, but instead of me, cutting your hair to do so, I'm going to pay you 15 or 20 bucks to cut my yard, and then you could take the 15 and $20 and go get the haircut or whatever you need to do. Right. So that's what currency does. It serves as a medium of exchange so that we don't have a really cumbersome barter system that we had like back in the old days when we had to trade goats for like milk and whatnot. And I say all that to say that in its functionality is inherently different than a store of value, right? A store of value is something that we're saving money into for future consumption. So for lack of better words, it's really an investment. And why currencies and store of value serve operationally two different kind of tasks is that with things that we transact in as a currency, we inherently do want some level of inflation because that incentivizes spending. And I might be getting a little too deep in the weeds here. Whereas when
I
we
don't
think
think you
about,
are. I don't
okay,
think you are. I think it's perfect.
cool
Keep
beans.
going.
When we think about things that should operate more as a store of value, like somewhere where we would save our wealth, well, then we would almost want that to be deflationary or disinflationary, where its value is growing over time so that we can finance future consumption. So I say all that to say that what Bitcoin has presented is a really unique argument around how we should think about money. I think what blockchain has presented is a really unique way with how we can kind of transact with other human beings, both in an analog and a digital sense. And I mean, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there, both from investment perspective, and we want to put money in and try to make money off of it, but also from just making lives better and increasing accessibility of, financial markets on a broader scale. That was a really, really, really long explanation, but
It was a great explanation.
I spend a lot of time thinking about it.
But it's a great explanation, and oftentimes when we have opportunities to share, and you being on the air with us today is an opportunity for you to unpack that and having an audience that is ready for it so that they could live well, live financially healthy, have the right advisor on their side who have their best interests. And so we're almost going to wrap up in just a little bit. I have a few more questions for you. Do you think you've had great success in such a few years? Do you think you'll ever open your own financial advising company?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I think a place that I want to get to is institutional money management. So right now I work with a lot of families and small business owners and things like that. But long term, I would definitely see myself up and opening up, whether it's like an asset management firm or probably not like a hedge fund or a family office where we're managing institutional dollars. So we're managing pension funds or sovereign wealth funds and things like that, helping them think through a lot of the same issues, just the commas and the zeros get a little bit bigger when you get those clients.
And I'm sure we all love the commas and the zeros to get bigger. We love that. We love that with some wisdom for great stewardship. As I always do with every guest, I always ask my guests, because this show is called Sean Inspires, if you could leave a word of inspiration to the listening audience for those that are in the planning phases as we've entered into 2022 and in search of possibly partnering with you. If you could share with them words of inspiration and guidance on how to put that pillar in place for their life as we journey through 2022 and through the rest of this decade, actually.
Absolutely. I actually got a really good one from my yoga instructor this morning. I don't even remember her name, but Yonder Yoga, great studio here in Atlanta. I'll give them a shout out. But she said progression over perfection. And that was really, really good. I think a lot of times we strive for everything to be perfect before we make a move, or we're so worried about, us having the perfect outcomes from the things that we do, when in reality, there's so little that we control of what happens on a day-to-day basis. Now, outside of our ability to take action and be intentional. So I think that, one thing that, all listeners can really lean into is make sure we, just every day take a step forward. Every day, put that brick down, put it down as perfectly as you can. Go to sleep and, wake up the next day and do it again. And don't get too wrapped up in the outcomes and trying to be perfect.
I love that. I love it. That's powerful. So if you could share with the listening audience how they may partner with you for those that are interested, if you could share how they may contact you and partner with your brand.
Yeah, you could follow me on Instagram. It's rush.graham. So rush.g as in God, R-A-M as in Michael. So rush.graham. A lot of my contact info is on IG. If you want to reach out to me a little bit more directly, you can email me at rush.imhotep. So rush.I, M as in Michael, H-O, T as in Tom, E, P as in Peter, at NM, that's Nancy Mary, NM.com. And usually I'm pretty good. I mean, my phone stays like glued to me like everybody else. So I'm pretty good at getting back when you reach out.
Awesome, Rush. Thank you so much for being on the Sean Inspires podcast show with us today and for sharing. We value your time and we value your spirit and knowledge. And so, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Do feel free to subscribe, follow, and share today's segment with your community and with your tribe. And as always, stay strong and stay inspired. Until next time, bye now.
Sir. Sean,